Hey, welcome, guys. We're going to start here in about 4 minutes. Thanks for taking time out of your day to jot it over here and be on this call live. I've got some really great stuff to share with you about WordPress security in 2017 going forward. Make sure if you have questions to ask them in the chat. I'll be happy to respond to any questions. This is a live call. It's not recorded. And yes, everyone will get the recording. That email will go out shortly after this presentation, and you'll get the replay. So never fear, the replay is near. I just made that up. That's pretty good. Hey, Steve, good to have you here. James, glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too, James. Perfect. Can everyone hear? Well, James and Steve can hear me okay. Can everyone else hear me okay? Can you see this screen? Can you see that big old mind map out there with all the little leaders on it? Little feeders, I guess, whatever they call that in a mind map. Well, I guess it's just you and usins here, James and Steve. I guess that's it. It's just weans. I am respectful of your time. I will start right at the top of the hour, about another minute, because I know that you guys want to get the information. I want to give it to you, and I want to be timely about it. I want to respect your time and not go on and on and on, and like 15 minutes later, then we'll start. Now, that doesn't happen in my webinars. Hello, Paul from the UK. Robert, hello. Now we're getting some people to chime in. Perfect. Excellent. James says, I guess that we'll be the only ones to know the truth. Yes, you will. And so Steve is from the land down under, the land of wonder, Australia. All right. Yes, and if you're, so David just says he's reading the JAS report on the JS report on Russian hacking today. President Obama kicked out 35 known espionage agents from the U.S. About time we got rid of these clowns. Sent them packing, and he also outed 2 Russian hackers. You can almost bet I would put really good money on it that those guys work for Kaspersky. But that's just me. Coming from a security background, I was always leery of hackers from Romania, Czechoslovakia, any of that group in there, China and Russia. Those were our big, Russia especially were the big culprits when I was in network security. Okay, I'm sitting here just telling you that I'm not going to drone on, and here we are droning on, and it's 1 minute after. Let's jump in. You guys want to see this stuff anyway. Hey, thanks for stopping by today and checking out WordPress security in 2017. Now, every year at the end of the year, I like to kind of go over WordPress, see where it's been, see where it's going. Well, we've got the latest revision just released a few weeks ago. 4.7, I believe, was the revision. And is it secure? Absolutely not. It's WordPress. It's more secure than the past revisions. A lot of the loopholes and a lot of the exploits have been plugged, but it's still not completely bulletproof. And it probably won't be as long as there are uh, hackers out there and ways to exploit PHP code. So, what can we do to secure our WordPress websites in 2017? Hey, first let's go over why I'm qualified. There's probably people on the call that have no clue who I am. Well, I have a computer degree, or I have a degree in computer information systems. I was at one time a senior network security engineer in Silicon Valley. I worked for these Fortune 5 companies like Selectron, Nokia Networks, OneSecure, and Introvert Networks. I hold certifications as a Checkpoint certified system admin. I'm also certified in Cisco PIX, that's a firewall, and a number of different IDS systems, that's intrusion detection systems. I've designed networks for UC Berkeley, Cal State Hayward, eBay, Providian Financial, and much more. And getting back to WordPress, I've built over 1,500 WordPress websites. And here's the thing that I want you to take away. None have ever been hacked. I've never had my servers compromised. My websites have never been hacked. And there's not a lot of people that can say that. Now, there's a lot of people that are selling WordPress plugins. There's a lot of security plugins out there. And I'm going to talk about some of the field, and hopefully this will clarify some of the issues. And as we said here, by default, WordPress is not secure. It's insecure. So we can go out here to Keeping WordPress Secure, the ultimate guide here on the WPMU Dev blog, and that will give you some insight. By the way, you have the mind map. If not, make sure that you download that. It's in the right sidebar of the webinar. We can also do a security scan. So we can go to this site here. We can drop in our WordPress site. Click on free WordPress security scan, and it will take off and go. Here's one of my sites. This is on my dedicated server, but as you can see, once I click the free WordPress security check, it's going to go through and check. Even though I've locked this WordPress site down, and it is about as secure as I can get it right now, it still has a couple of plugins. I mean, it shows up what's up because it's taking a look at the HTML code. Now, if this plugin was not secure, I would have a problem with this site. One of the things that I want to clarify with WordPress is most of the hacks that occur with WordPress are due to sloppy code, and that is WordPress plugins, code, and themes. Those are the two biggest culprits that cause the majority of WordPress problems. So you've just downloaded a plugin. You bought this plugin. It's the latest whiz-bang plugin. You've installed it, and guess what? It's not secure. So what can you do? Well, you can go back to the developer and say, yeah, I ran this scan. The plugin's not secure. Can you, improve the code a little bit? And more than likely, they're not going to do it. But if it's a major project like iThemes and they put out security plugins, or WordFins or somebody like that, yes, they're going to change the code. But somebody that's got some pop-up thing or something else that's going on in WordPress and they've written a plugin for it, don't expect him to bend over backwards to give you code that's tightly written and secure. They're just going to slap together some PHP, write some code, and sell a plugin. And that's basically how it goes. Well, should you be worried? Well, absolutely you should be worried. When you buy plugins, you should be concerned. Now, here's another site that I use, iThemes. And this, excuse me, this talks about WordPress Security 101, a quick guide to locking down your site. So this will actually talk to you and show you what you need to do. And there's a lot of things that you need to do to lock down your site. Well, if you've known me for any length of time, you know that I try to make things as easy as possible. I hate to do extra work when there is technology out there that can solve problems for me. Here's another major problem. If your server isn't secure, then your WordPress is vulnerable. Now, let me just clarify this for all of you that have a shared server. If you're on Bluehost, HostGator, even Namecheap, if you're on a shared server, your WordPress site is not secure. I don't care how many WordPress plugins, how tightly written that PHP code is, it's not secure because here's the deal. If anybody on that secured or shared server gets hacked, your site could be next. That's the problem with shared servers. If an exploit happens on that server, basically what happens is it goes site-wide. So site-wide meaning it could go through the whole enterprise, probably not, but it's going to be contained to that one server. Well, if you're with somebody like HostGator, there's maybe 1,000 sites on that one server. Every single one of those sites that has loose code on WordPress or they don't have it locked down, they are subject to be hacked. So just be worried about that because this is a real threat. And I'll guarantee you that once you install a WordPress site, within just a few seconds, there's going to be a bot that goes knocking on your site, and it's going to do a probe to check to see how secure your site is. Well, if you have a dedicated or VPS, there's good news. You can install what's called Config Server. It's free, and it installs server-side, and this is probably the best security firewall that I know for Linux systems. So if you have a dedicated server or VPS, more than likely it's running on a Linux box, Linux server, and all you have to do is just do a couple of commands here and install it if it's dedicated with no management. Now, if you have management, all you have to do is tell your management company, who you're hosting with, like Liquid Web or whoever it is, say, listen, I'd like you to install Config Server on my site, and they will do it. If they don't do it, then I'd start looking around for another dedicated server company. CP Hulk is pretty much installed by default on most dedicated VPS boxes. It's right here in cPanel. It's probably in your WHM panel, and I'll go out there and I'll show you where that is. Just logging into my server. First, let's show you the firewall. So here is the firewall, and it says firewall status. It's enabled and running, and you can see the threats that it's taking care of, 4 permanent bans. And basically what happens is these bots where these attacks happen, it used to be that I would get attacked hundreds of times per day, and I just tuned it to where now it's down to I've only had 4 permanent bans in probably the last few months, 3 or 4 months. And the CP Hulk is here in Security Center. It's right on the side. To get to Config Server, you have to type in firewall or fire, and it will go find it. CP Hulk brute force protection, and you can see the blacklist management. I've got tons and tons of sites down here that are blacklisted. My history reports probably will show nothing, and it does. What you want both of these products, and they're both free. Let me tell you, they're both free. You want these on your dedicated server. And like I said at the beginning, I've never had a server ever hacked, and I've never had a WordPress site compromised. And the reason why is because I'm OCD really about WordPress security and about security in general, mainly because I'm a former network security engineer. So, that's my onus. So I really take security serious. And you should too, especially if you've been hacked in the past. It's not a good feeling to go and try to get to your site and there's some hacker put some kind of nonsense up on your site, or your whole site is completely down and gone and your files are destroyed. That's a way to really wreck your day. I'm sure that if you've experienced that, it's really not a good feeling. And I've been in many situations where I've had to look at the C-level employee, which is basically the CFO, the CEO, and the IT engineer, the IT people, CTO, basically Chief Technology Officer, just look at their faces after you've had a major breach, and now you're compromised. And instead of just being a little inconvenient where you got to rebuild the site, it's costing you millions of dollars in bad press. People are fleeing your site. I mean, it's really just a nasty thing. One of the things you want to do on VPS and especially on dedicated is change your default SSH port. SSH is basically secure socket, how you get access to your server using a secure socket layer. So you're using SSH, it's running on the server. By default, it's running, but it usually uses port 22. You can change this very easily. So you can pick another port like 2222 or 2022 or anything there's over 65,000 sockets or ports available. Just pick one of them. And I'll guarantee you that bots that are basically interrogating your site, they're trying to find a vulnerability. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to find SSH and they're going to hit it. They're going to try to use the root password, admin, administrator, any of those to gain access, and then a password. So this is a brute force attack. Happens every single second of the day, 24/7, 365 days of the year. Bots are running constantly. Once they find a vulnerability, they report back to their host. That host is more than likely a script kiddie. If they were just really a state-sponsored hacker, like in these countries that sponsor it, Romania, Russia, China, just a few offhand, they would go after your site and really try to hammer it and steal credit card information, banking information, stuff like that. Stuff that's worth it to them. They're not going to deface your site. They're not going to put up an ugly picture and your site has been hacked by, blah, blah, blah. They're actually going to go after stuff that's going to make them money. Okay. Most hosting allows you to install WordPress automatically using a script. It's usually Fantastico, but there are other scripts out there. The problem with this is most hosting companies do not have the latest revised edition of WordPress. So you're going to be back a couple of revisions, and this is one of the main problems with using scripts to install WordPress. It's very insecure, it's not hardened, it's open to exploits, and then somebody goes and uses stupid things like username, admin, and simple passwords like 1234 or 123456, 12345678, stuff like that. That's what bots go after. They hit admin first, they hit administrator second, and then they go after numbers. They brute force attack it. If they get one thing, like for instance, you've used admin, well, now they have 50% of your security. 50% of your security has now been compromised because they have your username. All they have to do is brute force your password, and once they figure that out, they're in. And it doesn't take long with some of these script kiddies because they're running bots that run tens of thousands of people's computers that are compromised. And trust me, this is what happens. You're going to have it happen. If you haven't already, it's going to happen on your WordPress site unless you take a proactive stance and install some security, and one security plugin ain't going to do it. As we mentioned earlier, your site is constantly getting scanned. Okay, Security Visor is a good site to take a look at because they will tell you this is by Securi, S-U-C-U-R-I, Securi Net. This is an old 2015 post, and it talks about the XSS scripting compromise. And this exploit really was a real problem because look at all these plugins that were affected. All-in-One SEO, Google Analytics by Yoast, all this. Now this is 2015, April 20th, 2015. All these have been fixed, but I just wanted to show you the site so you can take a look at it and see what's going on today. Now, let's go to the next one. Okay, the latest version of WordPress is right here. And you can download it, or you can download, I'm going to give you an opportunity to pick up my product in just a minute, and it's a completely secure WordPress site. It has the latest revision of WordPress on it, and all you have to do is install it. All the security plugins are tuned. WordPress is tuned, and it is very secure right out of the box. But if you want to do it by hand, this is the place to come to. WordPress 4.7 Vaughan. is set up and ready to be downloaded if you want to do this manually. A lot of people like the manual installation. Now, the latest vulnerability for plugins is listed right here on WordPress plugin vulnerabilities. And as you can see, this is right up to, almost to date, 11/21, November 21, 2016. Post Indexer has two compromises, both a SQL injection and an object injection. This WordPress plugin, downloader, Real 3D, Flipbook, and so on and so forth. You can see all of the plugins that are, here's Woo custom checkout field, Woo plugin or Woo themes, elegant themes. All of these have compromises and fairly recent. Woo WP Ultimate Exporter. There's a Woo custom checkout field, import for WooCommerce. So you can see if you're running these themes or you're running these plugins, you're already basically a sitting duck. All you have to do is find some hacker that scans your site, figures out what you're running. And remember, we ran the site just a minute ago. And what did it do? It found what's up. What's up is not compromised, but it does show up as being a plugin that is basically reporting back that, hey, yeah, I'm active, I'm running on this site. If there were a compromise in this, then a hacker would know it and they'd go after that exploit. They have tools and kits that get passed around on the darknet, and they're going to have a way to break into your site very quickly, very easily, and you're never going to know what happened. Okay, so that's another site right here that's in the mind map. And you know, auto updates are fine, but just every once in a while, take a look on those sites just to make sure that you don't see any of your themes or you don't see any of your plugins. Here's a great tip. Only run one theme on your site. Don't grab 5 themes off of like 2019, 2020, 2017, whatever the name of it is. Keep your themes to a minimum. One theme. I run Genesis. Genesis is very tight. It's never had a compromise that I've known of. It may have in the past, but I didn't know about it. So it's all what I know about, and Genesis is very tight. And that's what's on the very secure clone. So, you know, just keep an idea or just keep an eye out for possible compromises with themes and plugins. And again, just run one theme. Now here's some plugins that are out there. Gateway Secure, Security Mastery, Site Guardian, Bulletproof Security. None of these plugins are written by security professionals. They're written by people who write plugins. Not one of them is written by a security person. So that doesn't mean that a programmer, a PHP programmer, can't make a secure plugin. They can. Site Guardian is pretty good. Bulletproof Security. But here's the problem. People buy these plugins or download the free plugins. They put on their site and they just go whistling down the street because everything is fine and dandy. That's not true. One security plugin is not going to do it. You must have a security suite. Many things that are like when I design networks for enterprise level customers, enterprise meaning 10, 15, 20, 30, 50,000 users on the wire. That's how many people worked at these companies. And we would deploy 1,000, 2,000 to 5,000 PCs in a weekend. And we'd put security on these sites. And how we do it is we had a multitude. We had a firewall solution. We had an intrusion detection system. We had access control lists. We had all these things that were working, but it was a suite of products. It wasn't just, we just didn't throw up any old firewall and go, yeah, it's all secure. Everything's fine now. We're never going to have a problem. Not true. As you see every single day, big corporations, supposedly that have their act together, get compromised every single day. The largest hack ever just happened recently, and who did it happen to? Yahoo. They broke in, they stole a bunch of people's user information. What did they say? 1 billion records compromised, something like that. Well, who's the the security people. If I was CTO, the person I'd fire myself, because I'm obviously clueless as to security. And then I'd start looking at my network security people, and they'd get in line, and I'd start firing them. I'd have to find some good security people, because obviously security is lax, or they don't have a clue what they're doing at Yahoo. But that's a different story. As we said earlier, one security plugin is not enough. You have to have a security suite for a total security solution, which my security suite includes about 5 plugins, 2 premium paid plugins, which is iTheme Security Pro and Backup Buddy. Now I also include WhatsUp, WordFence, and Sync. I really like Sync. It's by iThemes, and you can run 10 sites for free. You can manage 10 sites. I absolutely love this plugin, and let me show you why. Because it's going to go through and grab. It's going to interrogate my sites, and it's going to show me what needs to be updated. Here, let me just give you a real fast demonstration. Okay, so we've loaded up Sync, and I have about 17 sites that I have listed here. And as you can see, it's going through and it's finding one plugin, or it looks like plugin updates. Looks like one plugin right now, or one update. I don't know if that's a theme or a plugin or a core. Core meaning that it's the core WordPress needs updating. So these sites that have the red bar here, it can't interrogate that site for whatever reason. It's not finding anything on that site, or it's not running the plugin that will allow this to be interrogated. All right, so as we go through, we can see iTheme Security Pro needs to be updated. WordFence need to be updated here. WordFence again here. And then I'm not going to do very many. I'm just going to do a few here. I'm going to uncheck all of them except for, we'll just do 2 real fast. I'm going to update selected. And what it does is it just goes out and interrogates the site, and that's how fast it updates iTheme Security Pro. That fast. Now, of course, I have a dedicated server, so it's very, very quickly. I didn't want to run down however many this is, 17, I guess. But that just goes to show you, or just illustrates how fast that the iTheme Sync work. Now, you get the plugin for free. You can run 10 sites on it, and I suggest you do it. It is so much easier to manage your WordPress sites with this plugin than it is to manually go out to each one, try to update the core, meaning update WordPress, update all of your plugins, and it's just a hassle. This has saved me so much grief. I used to have well over 500 sites back a few years ago, and it was a nightmare. That's why I like to flip sites. I hated doing the management because all of them were WordPress membership sites, and I had to go into each one individually, which I never did. I just never had time for it. I just put my security suite on it, locked it down, and they were safe. I never updated them. So that's onus is on me for, shame on you because you're not updating your WordPress sites. I preach it, I don't do it. But I use this plugin to update my sites now, and it works great. All right, the thing that I was missing. Now, I really liked my security suite, but the thing that it was missing was Cloudflare. Cloudflare makes it so much easier to do security, especially with WordPress, and it works great for sites. Now, if we go into my site over here, which is this essentially is Namecheap. So this is my reseller account. If we go into any of these with cPanel, and if you have a shared hosting, you probably have a Cloudflare available to you right here. It's under software. So you can click here and you can install Cloudflare, if I can say it. It's a tongue twister, Cloudflare with your security. And then you can implement CDN, optimization, security, and DDoS protection. So basically what this means is it distributes your content around the globe on Cloudflare servers. So it's a cloud-based service that basically replicates your site. It's able to speed up your site because let's say someone wants to download your product or purchase your product or come to your site and they're in Europe and you live in California. Well, your site has now been distributed on the cloud, so those files are sitting on the cloud, on the Cloudflare cloud, and somebody in Europe clicks on your site and man, your site pops up fast. So not only does it serve up sites fast, but it also has great security and it has DDoS protection. That's one thing that I really didn't have with my security suite. I was kind of lacking. I couldn't distribute the content. I optimized my web pages and my server so it was running fast. So optimization was okay. Security was really good because I'm a security guy. So I locked down my server, I locked down my WordPress sites. But the two big areas that I was lacking was I wasn't able to distribute my product on a cloud, and I didn't have DDoS protection unless my server people had DDoS protection. DDoS meaning distributed denial of service. So if somebody just picks on your site and they decide they're going to attack you, and we've seen this recently. Very recently, we had an attack that was East Coast wide. It basically, and what they did was they DDoSed the main DNS servers on the East Coast, and the company that had the DNS servers basically just went down. It took down major sites. I mean, major sites all across the U.S. It was just unbelievable. It was a global wipeout of major sites. Sites were offline for hours because they were attacking the DNS. And the great thing about Cloudflare is you can use their DNS. Now, they mitigate their DNS by transferring, if they have a DDoS, if they perceive a DDoS is coming, which you can easily do, doing stateful packet inspection. I'm not going to get into all the firewall technology and stuff, but stateful packet inspection, they'll know exactly who's going to DDoS them or where it's coming from. So they get attacked. They mitigate that by moving the traffic off of that say that IPN block or that IP block and move it to another IP. And it takes place within a matter of seconds. So sites aren't down. Sites get mitigated, the DDoS, and they got to figure out where those sites went, and they got to start another attack. It gets to be a real hassle for the hacker. And I mean, if they're really diligent, they just keep attacking and just keep mitigating, and that just continues to go on. Not for infinity, because sooner or later what happens is they figure out where the attacks are coming from, and then the feds move in just like they did here recently, and they took down a huge botnet. The largest botnet ever, and they just completely wiped them, arrested a bunch of people, took their servers offline, and so that's one less threat globally. Okay, so again, back to Cloudflare. You know, I tried to install it a couple times. It is a real, it's a real effort to do it. I never found a really clean way to install it. Now you have to create an account on Cloudflare. It's free to create the account, but then you have to go through the cPanel and install all this stuff. And it just got to be a hassle. So the product that I'm going to show you today solves that. And how it solves that is there's 4 separate plugins that will allow you to install Cloudflare on your server and also install it on your WordPress sites. So along with my security suite of iTheme Security Pro, Backup Buddy, What's Up, WordFence, and Sync, WP Sync, you can install Cloudflare, the plugin, on your sites. Listen guys, security doesn't get any better than this. It is an easy way to install Cloudflare. Yeah, it still requires a little bit of technical ability. You do have to install a WordPress plugin. You have to configure it, and you have to configure your Cloudflare account, which is free again. But there's lots of video tutorials on this. And listen, it's not going to get any cheaper for this plugin. And when I show you what I'm going to throw in as a super bonus today, you're just going to be floored. So along with picking up the Cloudflare product, now this the the Cloudflare product is by Matt Garrett. So I know Matt. I've done work with him in the past by promoting some of his products. The guy's a stand-up guy, and he really knows these security products. He's done a bunch of them. So I'm very confident in his Cloudflare plugin. I've installed it. It works great. And I think when I picked it up, it was like $7. I actually bought the plugin. He didn't give it to me for free, and I bought the Pro version. Here's the great thing. You pick up this Cloudflare product today, and he's throwing in the developer rights for free. That's just for like less than $10. It's unbelievable how well this plugin works with Cloudflare. And then I'm going to throw in my simple desktop security app. So let me show you what that is. All right, we're going to come out here to our security, and this is my security suite product. All right, so here's the security. So you get Ultimate Security Checker, WordFence, Backup Buddy. This is a paid premium plugin. This is an iTheme Security Pro, another premium, premium plugin that you'd have to pay for. What's Up Analytics, iThemes Sync. So that's all the plugins, and then there's a video tutorial on how to install them, getting started, and Backup Buddy tutorials. Now the second product is the Very Secure Clone. The Very Secure Clone has all of these plugins already in it. Now, it doesn't have Cloudflare. I didn't want to include that. I do have the developer license, but I want you to pick up the plugin so that you can install it, and you can create your own product from this if you pick up the developer license. Well, what does that mean? That means you can take my security plugins, you can create your own clone, you can include Cloudflare if you have the developer license, and you can sell this product. And I'm going to make it super easy for you today because I'm going to give you a website where you can do this from. And of course, this includes Cloudflare. Includes the video tutorials, the plugin, SSL, CloudGuard, and the Purge Cache plugin. I normally sell this product suite without the Cloudflare I've sold it from $37 up to $97. Now here's the thing, it only runs on Windows. It runs on Windows 7, all versions of 8, and version 10. Anything older than version 7, I don't do support on that. It does not work on Mac. I've heard it's a success with running Parallels and Windows emulators like VMware Parallels. But I don't support Mac installations. I don't support Linux installations. I only support Windows. But that's the plugin. So how this works is you download the product, you've got it running on your desktop, and you've installed it using my setup, so it installs just like any other product in Windows. And if it throws up some false positives, like they will do, it will throw up a false positive in Windows. You just basically come over here to, I'm using Norton. Just go to File Insight and trust it. Say, yeah, it's trusted. And then Norton basically stops complaining and Windows won't throw up any more false positive. So now you have this desktop software. So Backup Buddy and iTheme Security Pro constantly rev, and you have to have the developer license for those products. If you want to spend the $300 to $400 it would take to get those licenses, that's fine. I'd be happy to give you my affiliate link. But this is the easy way to do it. For less than $10, you get all of these products, including Cloudflare and the custom website to sell these products from. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. And all you have to do is when I send out an email, I say Backup Buddy has gone to a next rev, it's updated, iThemes is revved, it's the next version. All you have to do is fire your trusty desktop app, download your plugins, and install them. It's that simple. Yeah, would it be nice to just automatically install? Well, sure, that's the developer license, and feel free to pick that up. But this is the easy way to go. It's very inexpensive, and I give you free updates of Backup Buddy and iTheme Security Pro for 12 months, for a year. All right, now and like I said, on the very secure clone, I've already done the testing and tweaking. It's done. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you the product today. You're going to get the desktop product and you get the brander. Now with the brander, you can sell the brander because you have white label rights to the software, which means you can sell the brander, which changes the software title, the company name, the URL for registration. You can set your own registration code and your URL. And what this does, this basically locks the software. So this is a squeeze-less squeeze page. It locks the software. Someone that wants to unlock the software would have to click on the registration button once they fire the software because it's locked. So they can't get to any of the product. And then they go out to your squeeze page. You send them an email with your registration code, and now you basically are building your list by passing around high quality software and especially WordPress security. People love WordPress security products. So you just brand your own product. Now and we haven't even talked about the website yet. So the completely done for you product includes this website right here with this neat little YouTube video. All right, so you get a complete copy of all of this, and let's take a look at the deals. And I'm going to throw in 8 more deals, so that's a total of 9 deals. So you get easy mini memberships. You get the WordPress Security Suite, affiliate marketing, WP Popper Pro, cost per action basic training or CPA basic training, commission heist, ClickBank paycheck secrets, my graphics maker software, and Twitter marketing basics. You can sell these products for anything that you'd like. There are 9 products in this suite, and they're all on this neat little, pop this guy up again here. It's a great little coupon type site. This is a coupon type site, so you can change this coding. You can change the deal will end in, or the countdown timer. You can make it evergreen. You can do shares on it or not. You can put social proof there, how many people claim the deal. And here's all your information, WP security, hackers, WordPress gets a C. Here's an actual live botnet on one of my sites, and I show how iTheme Security Pro protected it. And of course, you get the Cloudflare product. So all of that, including the website, if you pick up the super bonus, or if you pick up Cloudflare. And like I said, when I'm talking about this, as I'm creating this video,
grab this one-time offer now.
Oh, we want to turn that off. So you get all these products that I've normally sold, like I said, from $37 to $97, and all of these other bonuses: List Monster, Conversion Samurai, List Segmentation Master, Operation Inbox, Supercharger software that you can cloak your links, List Miner, my WordPress Security Suite with Cloudflare desktop app that you just saw. Here is the rebrander product and the website, which includes WP Security Plugin Suite. All of that, and there's a webinar, and I suggest you sign up for the webinar, and I'm going to show you how to basically edit the Easy Deal Builder products and also create there's a whole section there on how to create software with this free product that makes installation in WordPress environments just like the professionals do. It basically combines your software into a package so that anybody clicks on it, it will pop up and walk you through an installation scenario. And I'm going to show you that. It's free software. I'm going to show you how to download that software and create Windows products Windows software products very quickly, very easily. So it's 14, I think that's 14, if I counted right. 14 bonuses. And like I said, the last time I looked, Cloudflare or Cloud Defender, the Cloud Defender plugin itself was actually less than 10 bucks. So if you want WordPress security and you want it cheap, I'm going to run this for a few days and then I'm going to turn it off. And no time am I going to turn this back on in the next year in 2017. I'm going to move the price point from what it is now up to $37 almost immediately once this offer goes away, and people pay it. So my suggestion, if you want all of these products, my desktop app with all my security plugin suite, and Cloud Defender and all of the plugins that go with Cloud Defender, I jump on this right now because you're getting white label rights to my software suite and the brander. So I hope to see you on the inside. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this WordPress security overview. And again, I hope to see you on the inside, and make sure all of your WordPress sites are secure. Thanks for watching. Are you just shaking in your boots? Well, you better be, because your WordPress sites, even as I'm speaking, are under attack by bots. I'll guarantee it. Absolutely guarantee it. Gene says, I'm in the funnel right now. I'd suggest you pick up the Pro version if you want to get real crazy with it. I don't know what the Pro version costs, 17 bucks, 27, whatever it is. That's in the funnel. I actually got the software early, and I paid for it. I paid 17 for the front end for the developer, and I paid 27 for the Pro version. So I paid a lot more than you guys are paying. So David says, if we sell the security suite via the Groupon-like page, how much do we get to keep? Well, you get to keep 100%. Is that good enough? You get to keep 100%. Pick a number. I'm thinking of a number between 0 and 100 or 97 or something. Hey, thanks, James. I appreciate it. It's a no-brainer. I mean, if there was a no-brainer offer in 2016, I waited till the last couple of days, right? This is a no-brainer offer. Trust me, I never, ever have sold my security suite for even close to $10. It's always been $37 and more. And then I've actually had recurring revenue. I've charged people upwards of, I think one time was $49 a month just to keep up with Backup Buddy and iTheme Security Pro. So you guys are getting a really good deal. And that's only because Matt came out with this Cloudflare. That was the thing that was lacking in my security, was the Cloudflare component. It was just too unwieldy before. I mean, you had to configure it. You had to open an account. It was just a mess. And he's made it so much easier. And you're going to get all the videos and everything once you get into his site, and you can see kind of how it works. So John says, am I joking? Am I joking about what? About any of it? About the hackers attacking your site? About the pricing? What am I joking about? I could be joking. I don't know. I may be under the influence of tryptophan. I did have a lot of turkey over Christmas, so I could be joking. James says, I have several of your and Matt's products. Yes. Thank you, James. All my products are great. Matt's products are not quite as good as mine. No, they're just as good, probably better. I'm just messing with you. Questions, concerns, comments. Ask me anything. You've got me right here. I charge $497 for group coaching. Any security question, except for really deep stuff where I'd have to go off and run down a bunny trail. Top level stuff, like if I install this one plugin, will that keep my site safe? No. Okay, answered that one. Not one plug-in is not going to make it, guys. I hope that I made that clear. Yeah, it'll work for a little while. If you're on a shared server, forget about it. Somebody else gets compromised. This happens all the time. And in fact, what happens is Google will spider that site, and then it sees it as passing malware or a virus or whatever, and it puts it on the naughty list. It's not on the be nice list, it's on the naughty list. Guess whose site ends up on the naughty list also? Well, you guessed it, because you're on the same IP block, your site. So that means that all of people click on your product, or they find your link or whatever it is, you run Facebook ads, they try to go to your site, and Google throws up this big red alert that you're passing around malware. When it's not you, it's your neighbor down the street. Same IP block. He looks like you, drives a nice car, but the guy is a Russian hacker. I don't know what he is. He's got he's left his site open, it got compromised, and it hits you too. Cloudflare will stop that. It'll mitigate that, and it does a great job doing it. If you're on shared service, now of course if you're on a VPS or dedicated, I talked about config server and CP Hulk. That's basically how you lock down your stuff. So Patrick wants to know how security certificates work with Cloudflare. Well, SSL certs, secure socket layer certs, are basically, you have to purchase them, or someone has to purchase them. So how the SSL cert plugin works, the Cloudflare, there's actually 4 plugins in the suite. One of them is an SSL plugin. It'll basically create a free SSL socket layer, which is just fine. It can be free. But if you're on a server, if you're on a dedicated server, they want you to basically buy the certifications. And I just bought one here 2 weeks ago. I think it was $99. It used to be, when I was in high tech, those certs would come around, I think they were 5 to 10,000 bucks a piece. They were a big chunk of change. But now it's gotten a lot cheaper, so the certs will be server side. You probably got that like when you went to a site and it popped up a Google thing that said something like, the certificate on this server has expired, this is an unsafe site, or something to that nature. Google changes the terminology around, but essentially it waves off your traffic. It's like a traffic cop. You're trying to get traffic, and your site at Google is waving off your traffic. And remember, Google has, 60-70% of the traffic. So your traffic is just going away because you don't have the correct SSL cert. I don't want to get real deep into networking stuff, but that's kind of the high level 40,000 foot view. James can't talk because he's in a funnel. All right, James, what other hosting companies do you suggest for dedicated server, and how much are they? Well, I use Cloud South. They're in Florida, and they're really great. I run a server. It has, I think, 2 terabyte hard drive and a 250 gig SSD, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 2 terabyte. It may be 4 terabyte SCSI drives. I think it's about 4. I'm guessing now, so I'll just say 2 terabytes. We'll make it easy. 2 terabytes SCSIs, 1 SSD, and at 32 gigs of RAM. And what else? It's very fast. I run all my WordPress sites on it. I've got about 150 sites on it. As you saw in my demonstration, only 17 of them are protected with the sync. So what can I say? It's like the shoes, the cobbler, right? He makes shoes for everybody else, and his kids go barefoot, kind of thing. I preach it. I don't do it on, but all of them have security. All my sites have security. None have been hacked. So that just goes to show you how good my security suite is. But I think that runs me about $109 a month, something like that. But it is unmanaged. So if you need management, there's a management company out there called Platinum, and they will manage your unmanaged server for like $29 or something. I think $29 a month. Or you can just go with a fully managed solution. VPS works. You can get those for, I don't know, $20, $30 a month, something like that. So Paul says, how would you approach local businesses? Well, and I taught this course on teaching security. What I would do is I wouldn't do the SEO and all that garbage. It's real easy to sell security. You simply go in. There used to be a piece of software that I used that would probe somebody's site and it would bring back the information. I had this software written for me. Tell me if their site was running WordPress. A lot of local businesses sites are running WordPress. There's lots of software out there now. That's why I don't sell it anymore, because tons of software. It's all SaaS based. So all you have to do is go out and find it and then put in the company's main site, and it'll come back and tell you whether it's a WordPress site. If it comes back and it's a security probe, you got to be real careful with this too. So if you're doing port scanning using port scanning software and you're at your home and you're on like Cox or Comcast or AT&T or something like that, and you're doing a whole bunch of port scans, there's a couple of guys in black suits going to show up at your door and knock on your door or they just turn your service off and say, because somebody's going to turn you in for hacking, because there's going to be some system admin that sees you scanning their sites, and then you're going to get your knuckles whacked. So you got to be really above board about it. I would go in or call them on the phone and talk to them about the security. So do you have security on your website? And I'd like to be able to come in and talk to you about security. And then you hit them up with a PowerPoint, real short, to the point, and show them how many sites are compromised every year. You don't have to tell them about the big WordPress or about the big hacks, because I think everyone knows that. And then you just sell security. You know what I found the easiest time to sell security is after somebody's hacked. I never had trouble selling security. I sold $25 million worth of security one time to Providian Financial in San Francisco. It was after their big hack. I think it was about 1998, 1999. They were the largest Visa processing place in the world at the time. And somebody broke in. They didn't even have firewalls. They had what they called at the time big Unix sandboxes, and they were all Bastion hosted. So Bastion host is simply just a site that sets out in front of your site, captures traffic. It doesn't really do anything, because an adept hacker will go right through a Bastion host, and which is what they did. They stole a bunch of credit cards. And in fact, we were up talking to them. The sales guy and I were up in San Francisco talking to them. And we pitched them, because that wasn't my territory. My territory was in the Bay Area, but I was East Bay. So I was like Piedmont, Fremont, Berkeley, Hayward, all that's Oakland, all those places. So he calls me. He says, my systems engineer is down. Can you come up and pitch Providian? Sure. So I got my car, met him up in San Francisco. We pitched him. Had all the C-level guys there, the CEO, the CTO, all the C-level people. Tomorrow we're going to have Cisco come in and talk to us about the PICs and blah, blah, blah. So we were always fighting against Cisco. That was the gorilla in the room. And we had these two boxes called a Nokia 750 at the time, had Checkpoint running on it. This box cost $500,000, and we like to run them in tandem. So a firewall is a single point of failure in any network. All the traffic in a network goes through a firewall. So if one firewall fails for any reason, power supplies go out or whatever, we had redundant power supplies. But if it failed, we had a system where we actually took about 8 milliseconds, and it would roll from one box to the other. So we always sold these in tandem. So it's $1 million deal. So we pitched them. They were all, happy. We took them to lunch and up in San Francisco. I think the guy dropped about $1,000 on lunch for 4 or 5 people. We go back down 3 or 4 days later. I don't want my sales guy calls me. Guy, man, can you get as many 750s as possible? We got to get him up to San Francisco. Providian's been hacked. I said, what? He said, Providian's been hacked. I said, I hadn't heard a thing about that. He goes, they're not talking about it. It was the largest break-in of a Visa in the history of credit cards up to that point. Of course, there's been larger breaches since. Providian's no longer around, by the way. They're gone, got absorbed by somebody. So I rushed around. I asked all my guys if they had a 750. So I had an Infiniti J30 at the time. I don't know if you know that car, but it doesn't have a really big trunk. So I fit I think 4 750s in the trunk, and as many as I could. I didn't get very many, maybe 6 or 7. I loaded them in the back seat, and I went zipping up to San Francisco from Mountain View, about a 35-40 minute drive. Got up to Providian. They sent down some guys in a golf cart to pick up all the boxes. And I sat there for about a week with their security guys and installed redundant 750. It's a $25 million deal. And guess what? They never got hacked again. But that was the easiest sale we ever made. Of course, I was on salary. I think the account guy, what did he make? I think he made 8% on that 25 million. So not bad. He bought himself a brand new 740 IL, if that tells you anything, paid cash for it. All right, so Paul says, what would I charge for a service? I would charge a minimum of $300. Let me put that in there. What do you charge for minimum of 300? What do you charge for SEO? And what are the all the Indian companies and Chinese companies that are getting attracted to local business? What do they charge? They're going to come in, they're going to undercut you, but let me tell you, hardly anyone is doing security, and no one is doing it like I show people how to do it. So you just tell them, and they may have their kids. Well, my son, he's 14, and he just took a computer class. And yeah, he runs my website, and in the back of my mind, it just makes my skin crawl, because they're not secure. This kid is clueless, and I take that $300 and I tack on what I used to call a dumb beep fee. You can fill in the beep, and that's an extra, I'd say, $600. Just for being a moron. We used to call it this. I put it in the thing. ID 10T. It's an ID 10T issue. If you can read that, it's basically an idiot. Because if your kid is running your brick and mortar business, and you're making any kind of money, your whole business is basically based on your website. Anymore, any business is based on a website. It's based on leads, right? And you're letting your 14-year-old kid run your website and make your website in what Microsoft, what a front page or something? I mean, give me a break. So that's just that's just my idiot charge. It'd be $1,000. All right, James got the product. Thanks, James. I appreciate it. All right, so Robert says, if you have your previous desktop app, none will be updated. Yes, Robert, you will need the new version because it has Cloudflare. I'm not updating the old version. That does not have Cloudflare, so you will need the updated. So Patrick wants to know about the HD Access. Here's the good thing about HD Access. Don't worry about it. When you install WordPress, if you install the very secure clone, it automatically writes all the files it has a built-in HD Access. They're already written. So WordFence is already written to the HD Access. iTheme Security Pro is already written to the HD Access. So it's very secure. In fact, there's only 2 logins. Mine log in as an administrator, and then I have a default login that you should change once you log in, and you'll get that information in the videos. If you happen to mess that up and choose the wrong username, you're going to get locked out. That's why I use this thing called, I use a VPN. Where's it at? Where is my VPN? Hideaway. Where are you hiding? It's called Hideaway VPN. It's, I can't show it to you because it's, well, I'd have to change my whole screen share and everything. But you can look it up. It's called Hideaway. It's free, or there is a free version that will work. And that's all you need to get into your site. You just change your IP address and you'll be able to get in, because basically what's happened is you screwed up the username and it's locked you out. And the default lockout is 60 days. So I would assume you don't want to wait to 60 days until that lockout goes away so you can get back in. All right, so James is saying that his neighbor is a server tech with a no complete cost, so he's unable to help me. So there's a no compete clause, huh? Wow. Well, you go out and get your own gigs, right? There's plenty of them out there. I don't do offline, so I mean I teach it. Lots of people do it. I just don't like the uh, the cold calling and all the stuff that's involved. And I have a really big list on, and my list is all online stuff. So to change, I'd have to completely change everything, and I don't want to do that. But man, I mean, when I sold, when I talked to people, it's probably a year, maybe two, maybe it's 2 years ago now. I did an offline course. People were just selling this stuff left to right, $300 back then, and they were getting so many deals that they had to up their price because they were just too busy. I mean, there was one guy that upped his price to $1,000, and he would, but he also did management. So he managed the site, so you know he added a little bit more into it, but he did security, and he was charging 1,000 a month. I think I've answered all the questions. Any other questions, concerns, comments? None? We're done? Wow! That never happens. Okay, if that's it, that's it. That's all she wrote. No more questions. Everybody is questioned out. I've answered your deepest, darkest questions about WordPress. Security, anyway. Yes, no, I don't have a clue. I'm on the wrong flight. We used to fly, my wife and I have a timeshare in Cancun, and we'd get on the plane to go to Cancun. They'd always say, if you're not, if you're on this plane and you don't want to go to Cancun, then you need to disembark. And I'm thinking, even if I was on the wrong friggin' plane, if we're going to Cancun, I am going, buddy. All right, so James says, thank you, James. I'm gonna, Mark, I'm gonna delete that comment because it didn't go all the way through, I think. So David said, is there a way to retro security upgrade for a client, or do I have to start from scratch? No, you don't have to start from scratch. What you can do is and all the plugins, once you get the security suite, all the plugins are just simple WordPress installs. The first thing you do is you install Backup Buddy. That's the very first thing you do. Install Backup Buddy. Make a backup of your site. And then I go into cPanel and I do a backup of cPanel. That gives you a gunzip file. It's a GZ file. It's called gunzip in Unix. Download the gunzip. You're probably not ever going to use that, but if the site goes south, you'll have two backups. You'll have a Backup Buddy backup, and you have your gunzip backup, which is basically a cPanel. Only backup your host file. So the stuff under public HTML. Don't back up everything outside of HTML, public HTML, because you don't need it. Just back up your public HTML directory, which is your host file, I think it's called in cPanel. Backup Buddy is going to be your way to go, though. That'll back up a site. I've never had one fail under 1.5 gig. Now, the latest versions, I don't have sites that big anymore, but the latest version probably will work over 1.5 gig. But if it's a real big database, then you want to make a cPanel backup, or hopefully a backup. They've got a backup if they're on like a dedicated server. They always have backups. So anyway, make your backup and then install the rest of the file. So install iTheme Security Pro, WordFence. Once those are working, those will write to the htaccess. Once those are working, then install Cloudflare, and then you're set. Then do another backup once you get the whole configuration set, and that's the file you walk away with. That's put on your CD. That's your backup file that you can keep. So if you ever, if the site ever goes south, at least you have a backup from that point backwards. From that point forward, you're not going to have a backup unless you do incrementals, and Backup Buddy will do that. You can set it up to do incrementals, so it'll do a full backup, and then it'll do a backup however you set it up every 2 days. I set mine up for every 7 days, then it sends the file up to S3 Amazon, so I have a backup. It's not over 7 days old, so anything that happened within those 7 days I could lose. But, at least you didn't lose the whole site. Anyway, hopefully that answers it. Use backup buddy first and do a backup. That always works for any site that you mess with. Anytime you go and mess with a customer's site, put on backup buddy and do a backup. Because if you take the site down, one, you could be liable for the damage, and two, it's just embarrassing. So you're just taking the guy's site offline, and he's a HVAC sales company in the middle of July in Phoenix, and it's 130 degrees out. He's not going to love you very much. All right, so how many upsells are? I don't know, Patrick. I don't know. I can't tell you how many upsells. Sorry. And James wants to know if I use WP Site Manager. No, I do not. I don't use that. The more plugins you add to a site, the more overhead the site has. Keep that in mind. I've developed a suite of plugins that works with each other. You put in some of these other plugins and they don't work, they don't play well with other security plugins. They just break or things happen. Can break WordPress. But all of these, I've tested them. I've been doing this security stuff, well, in the security background, but in WordPress since about 2007, 2008. And it's taken me, well, it took me until about 2010 to actually get a suite of products that I could actually put together that worked all the time and worked well. Then I put a suite of products together, 2 or 3, and then I'd something to change. WordPress would update, it'd break a plugin, and it wouldn't work anymore. So I messed around with it to get what they call the secret sauce. I finally found it, and I've stuck with these for the last, well, since probably 2012, 2013, last 3 or 4 years, something like that. They work great. They never break. They never have a problem with WordPress revving. Can't say that about a lot of other plugins out there. You got to define FIM for me, Gene. I don't know what FIM is. I may be just missing that acronym. There's so many acronyms around, you'd have to tell me what FIM is. So I'm going to delete Mark's stuff here that is not all the way through. Again, I don't know how many upsells there are. I can't tell you. Yeah, James is saying that's my KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, sweetie. That's not what I use, but. Right, David says the Russian hacking report is a PDF. You can get through the new. Yeah, there's just so many of these reports. If I kept full integrity monitoring. Now, this is not stateful inspection. Cloudflare, on the other hand, is my plugins are not stateful inspection. Cloudflare has a stateful inspection module, and most hosting companies use firewalls that use state. So all of Juniper firewalls, all Cisco's, all Nokia's, they all do stateful inspection, and they're multi-gig backbones. So I don't know what the fill integrity monitoring is. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know what that acronym is. The stuff that I'm familiar with is like intrusion detection, mitigating, stateful inspection firewall, stuff like that. So the Cloudflare does this, and the great thing about Cloudflare is if you're under a DDoS or you're getting, so what happens is there's a Ethernet packet, and an Ethernet packet has what's called a payload section. In the payload section is where hackers stick their nefarious code. They can't put it anywhere else because it's defined by the 802 IEEE committee. So, like you heard of 802.11, 802.11a, you're probably running a wireless router that's either 802.11b, G, what else is out there? N. I think those are some of the latest wireless stuff. The latest, I think, is up to 1,000 megabit, so 1 gig. It won't travel that fast. You'll be lucky if you get 500-600 meg out of it. We were doing gig on the backbones back in the 90s. We had multi-gig appliances that did, I had one that did 25 gigs on a backbone, so it's pretty fast. Okay, so file integrity. Oh, file integrity money. Um, iTheme Security Pro does that very well. It does the file integrity monitoring. It does take resources to do that. So any type of change whatsoever, you're going to get an email alert. I mean, any change. So what I did was I turned off all the alerts because I knew that people weren't going to be able to change my files. But if you want to do, iTheme Security Pro does it very well. That's why I didn't understand the file integrity. Yeah, file integrity. Yeah, so it checks his file, and what it does is it does a set. It knows exactly how WordPress is set up. Any file that changes, which anytime a file updates or a plugin updates, like WordFence updates automatically, most WordPress sites update automatically. When that happens, you're going to get a barrage of emails from iThemes telling you all these files have changed. I just got tired of looking at it, but some people like looking at logs all day long. I didn't really care for that. So I just turned it off. Yes, so the secure. Make a long story longer. Yes, it does file integrity monitoring. Blog Defender. So Mark says Blog Defender was not the upsell product, but said developer license. Yeah, I don't use Blog Defender because the 4 plugins, my security suite, and the 4 plugins you get. The only license I would get would be the developer license and the Pro, if you want the Pro license. You have to have the developer license to sell the plugin. And that's the basic license. I think it was, I don't know, $7 or $8 last time I looked. Any questions, concerns, comments? Anything else? Are we all good? So we're all webinared out. Everyone's got their product. Well, I hope you picked it up. You can sleep. You can sleep at night. If you didn't, you probably won't be sleeping very well. It's not a matter of when, because your sites are going to get hacked. It's just a matter of time. I actually did this a few years ago. In fact, on the website, I have a screenshot. I had a product called WP Padlock. This was my first security plugin, 2008, 2007, somewhere in there. And this guy said, no, my security is good. I'm okay. And then a little while later, he came back and he said, I got to buy your plugin because my site was hacked. And they took it completely down. I said, well, sorry, man. Sorry about that. But I've seen it many, many times, especially with enterprise companies. They always come back. They always buy. It's real easy. Like I said, it's real easy to sell security after a hack. All right, James, thanks a lot. Appreciate you showing up. Have a great new year, everyone. And I think we're going to call her today. I think we're just about stick a fork in it. We're done. All right, thanks, everyone. Appreciate you and your business. Thanks a lot, guys. And until the next webinar, I hope everyone, if we don't have it, probably won't have another one until next year. Oh, that's a little joke, isn't it? Very little. Okay. I was the only one that laughed at that, I'm sure. All right, guys. Until next year, I wish everyone a very safe and sane holiday period, and don't drink and drive.